Okay, so let's go on to Friday. I just wanted to do this. We talk a lot about hip drops week in and week out, and I just want to talk about, we had Josh Papali'i, who was sent to the sin bin, ultimately charged for a hip drop. He's already taken the plea, so I can talk about it today. But I just wanted to draw a comparison here between, and again, hip drops, we're all constantly trying to educate people about hip drops. A, because we're trying to drive them out of the game, but B, because there is some misunderstanding at times of what is a hip drop and what's not a hip drop. So this first example with Josh, of course, was a hip drop. He was sin bin for it, he was charged for it, he's accepted the plea. I'll show that one, and then I want to look at a Viliami Kikau example that is not similar. I mean, some people might look at it and say, well, it's also a hip drop, but I want to show you why it's not. So let's have a look at the Josh Papali'i one. A couple of angles of it here. So if I go back to the first angle, you see one of the factors here that the bunker looks at in particular. The referees are getting better at picking these up in live play, but they are quite difficult at times to see exactly what happens in some of these tackles, so the bunker will often review them. But what they're looking for here is, you can see Josh has got hold of Kikau, and you can see at this point he's starting to twist and his legs come off the ground. So at this stage he's literally completely off the ground apart from holding on to Kikau, and then his body weight through his hips falls onto the leg of one of his own players, which then forces his own player's leg onto Kikau's leg. So although it's an unusual one in that the body weight didn't fall directly onto the ball carrier's legs, one of his own player's legs was forced down because of the body weight that he dropped into the tackle. So what we're looking for, what the referees are looking for, what the match review committee are looking for in these sorts of tackles, is where does the bulk of the body weight fall? Does it fall on the ground, or does it fall directly onto the exposed limb? And in this case it falls onto the limb of one of his own players and then forces down onto the limb of the ball carrier. So I'm not going to dwell on that. I think I've pointed out the features of that one, and of course he's taken the penalty for that. Again, we saw the second angle, and that's another version of it. Yep. So we'll go on to this is the Kikau one. Now again, you really need to look at these quite slowly to appreciate the difference. So you can see Kikau comes in here, reaches out, grabs hold, and then his body weight starts to fall. And you can see there at that point his knee has hit the ground. Both of the ball carrier's legs are unaffected at this point. Knees on the ground, so the body weight, the bulk of the body weight has already been absorbed by the ground. And then, again, if we go even slower, we'll go frame by frame, back a little bit further. So the knee, then the hips hit the ground. So at this point, hips are on the ground, still no contact with the leg. But then he slides and his upper body does make contact with the legs. Now, there are people who believe this is a hip drop. In the definition of a hip drop that's used in the NRL, this is an unfortunate outcome of a tackle. It's not a hip drop. Players' limbs will occasionally get caught under bodies. It's the nature of our game. Tackles do involve bodies falling on top of limbs, but we need to make sure that it's not a result of that grab, twist and body weight falling directly onto the limb. In this case, the body weight is mostly absorbed by the ground, and then it's the slide which makes contact with the leg. Still, potentially could cause an injury, but not because of any illegal action that's been undertaken by Kikau. That's the difference between a penalty, a sin bin and a charge, and no further action.